Hey guys, I am Elephant. Today I am going to recap the anime named Eromanga Sensei. The female protagonist of this anime, Satori, is so perverted. In her daily life, she seems to be an otaku who can't take care of herself, but in fact, she takes the advantage of her identity as a well-known illustrator on the internet to invite many female fans to visit her home and have some secret interactions with them. What's more, she has a very weird taste, which is that she is obsessed with her brother Masamune. However, Satori feels troubled that her brother is popular among girls. So what will Satori do to win over the rivals in love and conquer her brother? Let's start today's recap. The story begins with the main character Masamune preparing breakfast for his sister Satori, who has locked herself in her room since the death of her parents, and Masamune has not seen this unrelated sister for a year. In addition to taking care of Satori, Masamune is also a light novel writer, and one of his works has just been completed, but he has never met his partner, the illustrator, Eromanga. One day, Masamune receives the news that Eromanga Sensei is going to live stream her drawing, and when he comes to the live stream, he notices the breakfast he has prepared for Satori. Masamune then realizes that Satori is most likely the Eromanga Sensei. Before Masamune can stop feeling shocked, Satori is about to take off her clothes in front of the audience because she doesn't realize that she hasn't ended the live stream. Masamune hurries to knock on her door, finally stopping it. After a year, Masamune sees Satori again, but unfortunately, before he can say a few words, he is shut out by Satori. Masamune is a little disappointed, but he quickly perks up and goes to the publishing house to submit a plan for his new work. The editor, furtively hands him a file. Masamune sees it and immediately rushes home. It turns out that inside the document is a picture drawn for celebrating the completion of his work by Eromanga. He expresses his gratitude to Satori and explains that he is her partner. Satori hears it and finally allows Masamune to go into her room. She tells Masamune that her mother, a cartoonist, taught her to draw, but since her mother's death, she stopped drawing until she happened to see someone live streaming drawing and was happy, so she picked up the brush again and became Eromanga Sensei. Satori doesn't understand why Masamune is taking care of such a troublesome sister. Masamune ponders for a moment and emphasizes that they are family. Satori doesn't seem satisfied with this answer. The next day, an uninvited guest comes to Masamune's house. Megumi, an enthusiastic classmate of Satori, can't bear to see that Satori keeps staying at home, so she decides to help her out of the room. Satori is unwilling to accept help and asks Masamune to send Megumi away. Masamune does not want Satori to be bothered, telling Megumi that no matter what, Satori is his sister whom he feels proud of. All this is heard by Satori. After sending Megumi away, Masamune comes to the publishing house and encounters the second trouble of today. Elf, a popular author, hopes that Eromanga Sensei can help her illustrate her new work. This upsets Masamune, whose work is not selling well. Masamune returns home in frustration, and Satori suddenly hugs him, saying that she has heard the piano sound from the empty house next door, and she suspects that the rumor of a haunted house next door is true. Masamune, who is also frightened, goes to the next door and sees Elf playing the piano without clothes on. Masamune explains why he comes, and also ridicules her, saying the adult-only plots in her works are derived from life. The two then argue about whether the novel needs to attract readers with a large number of adult-only plots. In the end, they even make a bet, saying that only the one who can write a more interesting novel can partner with Eromanga Sensei. After Masamune leaves, Elf, who is still angry, stands on the balcony and shoots a toy arrow at Masamune. Satori thinks Masamune has a good relationship with Elf and is jealous, driving him out of the house. After school the next day, Masamune can only come to Elf's house again, and they see Satori drawing from the balcony. Elf, who doesn't know about the situation, laments Satori is so happy when she draws, wondering if Eromanga is the same when she draws, otherwise how she can draw such an excellent work. Masamune tells Elf that she is also a good author. Masamune was devastated when his parents died, and it was Elf's work that made him happy again. Though seemingly proud to say that she deserves it, Elf is actually very shy in her heart. Immediately afterward, she tells Masamune that his novel must have also saved his readers. Hearing Elf's words, Masamune couldn't help but recall the joy of receiving a letter from a reader for the first time. In order to win over Elf, Masamune decides to write a novel about his sister. He tells Satori his thoughts and asks why Satori never draws girls with ample bodies. Satori says that she can't draw things she hasn't seen, and Masamune realizes that Satori is using the body of herself as a model. Shy, Satori hurries to interrupt him. They work hard for the bet for a period, and it finally comes the appointed day. Masamune reads Elf's novel and feels that he has lost. Unexpectedly, Elf cries after she reads Masamune's novel, angrily saying that this is obviously a love letter. It is this novel that makes her realize that Eromanga is Satori. She says that she loses this time because she feels Masamune's affection for Satori. Masamune, realizing his true feelings, excitedly jumps from the balcony into Sajure's room, only to accidentally push her down. Before Masamune can change the topic with the novel, Sajuri speaks first, misunderstanding that Elf is here to replace her as the illustrator. She says that she has learned to draw plump girls, hoping that she won't be replaced. Masamune hastens to tell her the bet with Elf and asks her to read his novel. Unexpectedly, after reading, Sajuri says that she has fallen in love with someone. After that, there is a slight change between Masamune and Sajuri. Masamune doesn't know Sajuri likes him and is always upset. Intending to have a talk with her, Sajuri thinks Masamune has already known her affection for him and deliberately dresses up, only to hear him saying that though he falls in love with her at first sight, he will treat her as a family since she has had a crush on another one. Sajuri can only call him an idiot to vent her anger. Meanwhile, Elf comes to Masamune's house to avoid being urged to finish her work. Coincidentally, Sajuri is worried about lacking inspiration. When she looks at the raw material of her drawings coming to her, she decides to observe Elf through a video call for inspiration. It is difficult for Elf to reject the request from her idol. However, when Elf just finishes being Sajuri's model, the editor comes to catch her back to finish her work. In the evening, Masamune looks at the new characters painted by Sajuri and instantly gains more inspiration. He asks Sajuri to draw a few more pictures, but Sajuri tells him she needs more models to inspire her. Masamune goes to the bookstore to find his friend Tomo and asks her to show Sajuri how she looks in her underclothes. Tomo refuses the strange request. Coincidentally, Megumi is also at the bookstore, and she says that in order to become friends with Sajuri, she decides to read light novels. Seeing that she is taking it so seriously, Masamune decides to help her befriend Sajuri. He invites Megumi to his home and asks Sajuri's opinion. Sajuri says that only when Megumi agrees to be her model will she meet her. Megumi thinks Sajuri will just simply draw some pictures and immediately agrees, but she doesn't know it is hell that awaits her. Sajuri later ties her hands and blindfolds her, and then she starts to gain inspiration from her. Megumi feels devastated and can't help but cry. To apologize to her, Sajuri takes off her blindfold and lends her her favorite novel. Megumi is happy to be friends with Sajuri, but she still wishes Sajuri would return her underwear before leaving. Thanks to the efforts of Masamune and Sajuri, Masamune's new work has got approval for publication. At this time, IM tells him that his new work will not be published until next May because another excellent writer, Muramasa Senju's novel, will be published first. Hearing the name, Masamune instantly collapses. It turns out that they have very similar novel styles, but Senju is better than him in every way, and everyone calls him Mini Senju. Previously, Masamune promised his aunt that if he could not publish a new work this year, he would no longer continue his present way of life. Therefore, he has to ask Elf to help introduce other editorial companies. When IM learns of this, in order to keep Masamune, he decides to make Masamune participate in the newcomer fiction competition because the winner can have his work published this year. Unexpectedly, the girl next to him suddenly signs her pen name on the entry form, saying that she will prevent Masamune from realizing his dream, and she is exactly Senju. Masamune doesn't understand why Senju is hostile to him. Senju says Masamune's boring dream gets in the way of her dream. Enraged, Masamune decides to battle against Senju in this competition. Because this time they need to compete on short stories that Masamune is not good at, he has to ask Elf to train him. Unexpectedly, Senju suddenly comes to persuade Masamune to give up the competition, and even hopes that Masamune will become her exclusive novelist. It turns out that Senju became a novelist after she read Masamune's works. Senju can't tolerate Masamune abandoning combat novels in favor of boring love stories. She thinks that as long as she defeats Masamune, he will give up his boring dreams and continue writing combat novels. At this moment, Sajuri, who has been reluctant to leave the room, suddenly runs out. She confesses her feelings loudly with all her strength, and says that the dream she created with Masamune together is not boring at all, and they will never lose to Senju. Masamune finally understands Sajuri's words and smiles, telling Senju that he will definitely win the competition because it is the best work he has created with Sajuri. Hearing this, Senju can only leave in anger. After the entry is published, Masamune discovers that Senju's novel is a love letter to him. Senju blushes and straightforwardly says that she likes Masamune and his work. Masamune, who already has a crush on Sajuri, cannot respond to Senju's feelings, so he has to reject her. After that, the result of the competition comes out. Senju's novel exceeds the page limit, and Masamune, who ranked second at first, wins the final champion. The title of his new book is The Cutest Sister in the World. The good news doesn't make Sajuri happy because she sees Senju's work. She asks Masamune what he thinks of Senju. Masamune, however, says Sajuri is always the one he only likes. After some time, Elf invites everyone to take a holiday on the island. Sajuri, who has always been stingy, generously allows Masamune to attend the appointment this time, which puzzles him. What he doesn't know is that Senju has made a secret agreement with Elf and Sajuri. Chris, Elf's older brother, also comes this time. As soon as they arrive at their destination, Elf asks Masamune to apply sunscreen to her, saying in its way that it is for inspiration. In front of Chris, Masamune eventually rejects her. In the evening, Masamune is about to relax in the hot spring when he runs into Chris again. Chris has been misunderstanding that Masamune is in a relationship with Elf, and he asks Masamune to marry Elf as soon as possible. Masamune agrees that Elf is attractive, but unfortunately, he already has someone he likes, otherwise he would have definitely fallen in love with Elf. After saying this, Masamune is about to leave the bathhouse, but he runs into Elf, who is eavesdropping, and she runs away with a red face. At night, Elf takes Masamune to the island's forest. This is what she drew in her first work and where her father proposed to her mother. Elf says in its way that she has decided to make Masamune her groom candidate. Before Masamune can respond to her, Elf tells him her real name, Emily, emphasizing that she will definitely make Masamune like her. When Masamune proposes to her, he needs to call her by that name. After saying this, Elf leaves. The next day, when Elf is about to show her charm, her editor and brother Chris catches her back to write. When everyone is on the spot, Senju announces that she will no longer be writing. It turns out that Senju has been looking for interesting stories all along, for which she does not hesitate to create interesting stories herself. Eventually, she has discovered that only the stories created by Masamune are the most interesting and her favorites. So she asked Masamune to write a few interesting novels specifically for her. Now her dream has come true, and she doesn't think she needs to keep writing. Masamune has a different opinion on this. He takes out a stack of long-cherished fan letters, and tells Senju that he has known through the handwriting that all of these letters were written by Senju, and that these letters have given him the motivation to realize his dream of touching fans. But there shouldn't be only one dream. It will be a pity to give up writing just because she fulfilled one dream. Encouraged, Senju decides to start writing again and says that she has a new dream of making Masamune fall in love with her. The holiday ends after Masamune received confessions of love twice. As soon as he returns home, he finds that Sajiri has secretly prepared a swimsuit and guesses that Sajiri actually wants to go to the beach for a vacation. Sajiri gradually has the idea of going outside, much to Masamune's relief. Later, Senju and Elf come to Masamune's house to fulfill their promises. It turns out that Sajiri put forward the condition that they become her models. She definitely wouldn't miss the opportunity to let the two put on swimsuits and do various seductive poses to inspire her. The next day, Tomo brings Masamune a newly done doujinshi. Sajiri definitely will not let such a magazine go. After reading it, Sajiri is inspired to draw a new doujinshi in an instant. Sajiri, who is still young, cannot properly draw a boy's body. Masamune doesn't know how to explain it, and he is so anxious that he hits the wall. After that, he gives the task to Elf. Unexpectedly, Elf is unreliable, and she even encourages Sajiri to directly use Masamune as a model. In the end, it is Senju who draws a standard sketch of the human body. Only in this way can Masamune's innocence be preserved. Finally, on the day of the release of the new work, Masamune decides to take Sajiri out via a video call to feel the atmosphere of the book fair. As they walk, they chat and recall the past. 5 years ago, Masamune's biological mother passed away, and he began to try various things, trying to get out of the grief of his mother's death. When he saw someone writing a novel online, he tried to write his own work. Coincidentally, at the same time, Sajiri hid at home and did not want to go to school because she did not want to face her parents' divorce. It was then that she saw Masamune's first novel and became Masamune's first fan. They chatted on the internet, and their relationship improved a lot. Sajiri gradually got rid of being emotionally crippled under the influence of Masamune and returned to school. Masamune, with the support of Sajiri, decided to work towards becoming a professional writer. He told Sajiri that when he became a professional writer, he hoped Sajiri would still paint for him. Inspired by Masamune's dream, Sajiri was determined to make an effort to learn to draw and become a good illustrator. To do this, she had to temporarily stop contacting Masamune. They agreed that the next time they met, it would be when the two have got achievements. Back to the present time, Masamune realizes that Sajiri is the one who made an agreement with him. At this moment, people at the book fair are discussing Masamune's new work, making Masamune feel that he has finally reached his agreement with Sajiri. He hurries home to find Sajiri already greeting him at the door. They do a fist bump, just like what they did at the dusk many years ago. That brings the end of this anime. When it comes to this anime, the first thing that most people think of may be Sajiri, the female protagonist of this anime. As the fourth work of the well-known Siscon Fushimitsu Kasa, this anime has created another very classic image of a younger sister for us. But I think the plot in which the brother and sister help each other chase their dreams is equally impressive. As Sajiri said, "We are chasing the dream we create together, so we will never lose to anyone." In addition, I am impressed by a quote from Senju in the anime. "What will happen to my favorite characters after the end of the work? I've been thinking about this all the time, so I keep writing." That's right, the work will be ended no matter what kind of work it is. But I think the stories of the characters will never be over. Like Sajiri and Masamune, they must still be working hard for their dreams. So no matter what, we should become the main characters of our life to write our own stories. Well, if you like the anime of romance just like this, comment below to tell me and I'll recap it afterward. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support can really push me to make more recaps. See you in my next video.